What does it mean to be authentically happy anyway? If you're watching this video, you may be wondering if happiness is even real or possible. You may have heard all the good advice on how to achieve elite levels of happiness, only to find you still feel the same, and the same is not great. In this video, my goal is for you to know what being authentically happy looks like for you, and the steps that you can take today to increase the peace you feel in your life. This is a big thing for me. I searched for it forever, and this is what worked. So I got 5 steps for you, and I want to tell you how this pulled me out of my depression and really helped me process the things that happened to me in my divorce. So the first step that we have to take is learning to tune into what you are and how you think. Recognize the real you, right? There is a place that I know within myself for many years that I presented to the world. This was my outward space. People that met me all would say, yeah, I was a happy, easygoing guy. What they didn't know was that there was a deep undercurrent of depression, self-loathing, unworthiness that I carried within myself that I would not look at, that I was afraid to hold on to. I had to get to a place where I could emotionally understand that I was struggling to recognize all of myself. And I was only presenting, not only to the world, but to myself, the facade of happiness that I carried within me. I didn't want to be a depressed person. I didn't want to be suicidal. I didn't even think that I was until I did some work. So tuning into that becomes important, and there's ways you can do that, and I talk about in other videos. One is meditation. Start meditating today, and that'll allow you to tune in. The second thing that I did, and that I think we need to do, is to recognize and understand where you aren't happy and the changes that need to be made to make you happy. So once I realized, yeah, I have some feelings of depression, feelings of unworthiness, where did these come from? I didn't know. And I had to find that out. And when I began to understand what was making me unhappy, well, then I had something to focus on. I could fix it. I could change it. What were the behaviors that were part of my life that were causing me to feel this? What were the positions I was putting myself in that made me feel like this? What were the things that had happened in my past that made me believe that I wasn't worthy or that I shouldn't be living? These are the things that I had to struggle with myself. And it wasn't easy, but the process was really good. Once you understand the changes that need to be made and you accept them and you go after them, you'll find that you have somewhere to put your energy. And it will begin to resolve the feelings that you're facing. Or you can look at the depression. Perhaps the depression that you're facing is a chemical imbalance and only drugs through a doctor is going to help you. Or maybe that's the kickstart you need. Consider all the options. Don't limit yourself to only one way of getting through this. Find everything you can. Throw all the things at it so that you can understand how to make the changes and how to overcome them. Then number 3 is looking outward and understanding the way people you associate affect you and how you feel. This is something that took me many, many years to learn and understand. There are people that will come into your life that are going to drain everything they can out of you. If you are unaware of that, if you do not have boundaries on where your energy goes and who you spend it on and how you get a return in your relationships, you can be left depleted, incapable of helping anyone, depressed, unable to be happy, showing like you're happy because you're helping everyone, but yourself feeling completely tapped, dry, and lost. This is something that happened to me. I would give to a point where I would break. And in the moment of breaking, I would do things that I regret because I had no barrier, no boundary, no understanding of who was drawing from me and who was giving back. And so there was no balance. And you can really tune into this once you start to understand the first things, what it is that makes you unhappy, recognizing the emotional state that you're in, doing this process of really identifying the internal workings of what goes on the inside of you. Now, I go to this all the time. I love this quote from Plato. Plato says, "All I know is that I know nothing." And there's a Dunning-Kruger effect. It's a concept in psychology where if somebody asks you, "Hey, how emotionally intelligent are you?" or "How funny are you?" or all these things, we will elevate ourselves far beyond what we actually are capable of doing because we have so little personal insight to ourselves. That is a typical response in a Dunning-Kruger. The more you believe you're exceptional, not in all cases, but the more you believe you're exceptional, the more likely it is you're not. The more you believe that you are, you can see the limitations, you can see the whole scope of who you are, the good and the bad, well, that is what allows you then to really own and take action on the things that you're feeling. Because the other place is a place of delusion where you're not really capable of seeing the nuances and the feelings and the emotions that you carry. And then once you get to that space, you can really understand when you're interacting with somebody, oh, this person's a drain, like this is a drag. One thing that you can do is every time you have an interaction with somebody, when you leave their presence, do a gut check. How do I feel? Do I feel energized from this interaction? Do I feel the same? Or do I feel like I just kind of got drained? And if you have somebody that's constantly draining you, you might need to set up some boundaries so that that person can only enter your life in certain situations or not at all. Guard that. That will help protect you to become happy. The fourth thing, owning and accepting your strengths and limitations. I kind of touched on this a little bit a second ago, but this is a really, really hard thing for many people to do. It comes from really learning to hold on to your self-worth, your value. And this will truly make you happy if you can accept your weaknesses and love them as much as you can accept your strengths and love them. I find that there are some people that are more than willing to accept their weaknesses, completely unwilling to accept their strengths, and vice versa. Those people are imbalanced. I have been imbalanced many times in my life, and I fall out of balance all the time. But I have to go back to this idea when I'm struggling and feeling off of kilter and not feeling totally happy, and I look at the space that is bothering me, if I'm feeling unhappy, into myself. And I believe that our unhappiness really stems from us not truly understanding where we are not loving ourselves in that way that we are not liking. We see in others around us or the events in the world that are taking place, there is some space in myself typically that I am not loving, whether it be a strength that I am not giving credence to or a weakness that I am not willing to accept that is something I carry. Love both. And this will make you happy because when I do that, when I fall into feeling unhappy and I start to delve in, it's usually for me a limitation, something that's a weakness that I'm not wanting to hold on to. And I can start to accept that, love it, be patient with it, my happiness comes back. The last thing, once you've done all this, if you can really identify yourself and get okay with everything, you understand your limitations, you understand your strengths, then you can identify a dream, a vision, a purpose that will lift you. That comes because you fully know who you are. And then when you know who you are, you actually have the courage to chase the dream that you identify. I didn't for many years. For many years, I felt like I had to hide the piece of me that felt weak and broken and unfixable. I didn't even want to acknowledge its existence. It left me, honestly, feeling deeply sad. I was suicidal. Well, right up until, honestly, my 40s, I was quite suicidal. And then my mid-40s, I turned that around, and I don't struggle with this anymore. But it came down to this. It came down to me acknowledging that it was even there. And then once I did that and was able to accept, man, I've got strengths and I got weaknesses, a dream became clear for me. And I had the courage to step in and do it. And I became the coach that I wanted to be, and I got to do all these fun things that I loved. And I honestly feel real joy. It resonates through my whole body. It's a different thing than I've ever felt before. I can still be sad. I can still feel upset. I am honestly happy with what is going on in my life because I'm learning to accept the full spectrum of who I am, and I'm learning to protect myself from people that will drain from me and pull me off course. So, what does it mean to be authentically happy for you? I don't know exactly how that looks, but I do know if you can touch into yourself and delve into these emotions, you have a path. You have a way to do this. And if this is something that resonates with you, or if you know ways that you're using to be happy, let me know. I'd love to hear your comments. And stick around, because I got a video coming up on how to feel worthy of love and what ended my marriage. It's good stuff. I think you'll like it. Like, follow, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. I'm James Burnham.